Greetings and peace. This presentation I would like to do on the book Hassan-I-Sabah, Hasan-I-Sabah, the Assassin Master, which was written by James Wasserman. Since I did the Crowley video, the OTO Crowley video, and the influence of Islam upon it, the algorithm had recommended Wasserman's books to me. I never knew who he was before. As you've seen, I've covered the Knights Templar book, the Knights Templar and the Assassins, and I was intrigued to read and cover the teachings of this book as well. So for those of you that don't know Wasserman, he's a author, publisher, occultist, and especially involved in the OTO tradition. And since I did the video of Islam's influence upon Crowley and OTO, the algorithm had started recommending his work to me, and even on Amazon I saw his books and stuff. So yeah, the ironic thing that I found was him talking about Hasan-I-Sabah. Basically, this was a posthumous release, like this book released, I believe, right after he died. Since he was born in 1948 and died in 2020, and this book was released like a little bit after his death, I believe. So the person that we're talking about, plus the whole posthumous release of the book, I just found it interesting, synchronistic and ironic, especially, when you mentioned the old man. That's how it is sometimes. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this review and analysis of this book. Again, I represent myself only as a free man under free speech, and I have the right as a consumer of this book to review it and analyze it, and I hope you get something from it. And thank you for all of you that always support me. Yeah, most people do not know the influence that Hasan-I-Sabah had on the European Renaissance, of course, with the Muslims already being in Spain and the influence of the Moors that was there also. Plus his involvement with like different groups, and this is a subject that I've covered before on the Knights Templars, studying with the Ismailis and taking that knowledge back to Europe, whether we see that influence in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, and even what the Hashashin or the Assassins have done, even now in popular history and culture, in the movies, video games. It's a very, very intriguing subject. Even in the Japanese anime, Fate Grand Order, Hasan-I-Sabah is like greatly regarded. So it is something that we have to look at and explore. Now, Hassan is introduced to Ismaili hidden secrets by Abu Najam Siraj, and later takes the oath to the Fatimid Ismaili Imam al-Mustansir after a humorous exchange with Mumin. Abdul al-Malik ibn Atash appoints Hassan as a deputy Dai and advises him to go to Egypt. Now, there are some people that said Hasan-I-Sabah was part of the, Cairo Lodge or some form of a Middle Eastern Illuminati faction. So Ismailis between the 1080s and the 1090s fought against the Seljuk rule, while the Fatimid Caliph al-Mustansir played a significant role in Hassan's mission. And of course, Ismailism, which comes from Shiism, the 12 are Shias, right? If you look at the histories of Sunnis and Shias and all of that, it's all a part of this subject as well. And it's just such a unique culture. And even if you read that book by Henry Corbin, right, about the Ismaili gnosis and the cyclical time, which I've covered on this channel before, they have a doctrine and a different interpretation of Islam, especially on the hidden imams, and the reverence for the imam it's central to the Ismaili faith. Now, Hassan Hasan-I-Sabah would later proclaim the Qiyamah, which was accepted by the Nizari community due to their belief in the imam's spiritual authority. Ismailis believed in vast cycles of creation and viewed 7 prophets as guides, adding Ismail or his son Muhammad ibn Ismail as the 7th. Each prophet brought a code of behavior, and the Sharia was created as a limit to the higher message. The Natiq, or prophet, was always accompanied by a wasi, or executor, who guarded the inner meaning of the Shariat. The Imam succeeded the Prophet and continued the work of the Wasi. conveying the original message and revealing the batin. The Samit, or Silent One, interpreted hidden doctrines with Seth, Shem, Ishmael, Aaron, Simon Peter, and Ali serving as silent ones for previous prophets. The final judgment separated the redeemed from the ignorant, with teachings conducted in silence and accompanied by oath-taking to protect Ismaili dais. Now, the dais were like spiritual counselors and advisors within that community. Hassan may have been inspired by the end goal of Ismaili teachings, where the human soul becomes assimilated with the highest wisdom of the universe. Hassan's his service, like in the Seljuk court, involved a friendship pact with Nizam al-Mulk and Omar Khayyam. So not too many people know that Hasan-I-Sabah and the Omar Khayyam, the poet, were good friends, leading to betrayal when Hassan sought a position within the court. Malik Shah assigned Hassan a task that Nizam plotted to discredit him, but impressed the Sultan with his diligence and efficiency. Nizam manipulated Hassan's presentation to the Sultan, leading to Hassan's embarrassment and expulsion from the court. Hassan's religious background and possible motivations to join the Seljuk Turk is a part of this whole thing, along with his complex relation with Nizam. And of course, his conversion to Ismailism and his interactions with Malik Shah are there as well. And even if you look at, you can look this up, like there's like letters that are archived between Hasan-I-Sabah and Malik Shah. So with Hasan-I-Sabah, his travels took him from Isfahan to Egypt, his interactions with Caliph al-Mustansir, his imprisonment by Badr al-Jamali and eventual release, and of course his missionary activities in various regions of Persia and how influential he was in his strategy and nature. Now, Islam arrived late due to the Dalami mountaineer depredations, making Qazvin a frontline fortress. The Alids found Shi'ism followers among the Dailamis ideal for Hassan's revolutionary efforts. He avoided Ray, focusing on Dailami conversion and strategic planning against the Seljuks during his travels. Hassan eventually settled in Alamut, a castle strategically built by Wasudan ibn Marzuban. The castle became an Iqta holding from Seljuk Sultan Malik Shah to Alid nobleman Mahdi. The Iqta system was a form of land management and tax farming similar to European feudalism. Feudalism offered protection in exchange for labor, similar to Iqta. The Iqta system was introduced by Abu Wahid Amir Mu'iz al-Dawla for allocating revenue to soldiers. Now, land grants known as Iqtas were given to military personnel in the Islamic system, allowing them to tax farmers and townspeople. Non-military property grants called Kati provided tithe revenues to the state. The Seljuks continued the Iqta system established by Mu'iz al-Dawla, with Nizam al-Mulk playing a significant role in supervising Iqta holders. The system did not involve inheritance, and holders were required to change their holdings every few years. The Seljuks expanded grants of administrative Iqtas to emirs as they established their rule over Iran and Iraq. Hasan-I-Sabah established his headquarters at Alamut in 1088, using his strategies, his charming nature, to acquire the impregnable fortress and gain his followers around it too. He fortified the castle and focused on agricultural efforts to enhance long-term survival. Then you had Ahmad ibn Atash, who used the technique of conversion while teaching children in the takeover of Shadis. Hassan's letter exchanges with Malik Shah shows his religious beliefs, information, and loyalty to the Sultan. And Hassan refutes accusations of inventing a new religion and encourages Malik Shah to reconsider his allegiances. Hassan pledges military support and vows to serve the Sultan despite being targeted by the Abbasids. Hassan prayed for the Sultan to make correct choices. Malik Shah was initially impressed but later turned against Hassan due to his independent power. Hassan acquired Alamut as a headquarter for Dawah activities, which of course faced opposition from the Seljuks. Nizam al-Mulk was assassinated, possibly by the Sultan, resulting in Malik Shah's death. The deaths had military repercussions for the Ismailis. Ismailis successfully defended against the Seljuks in Kohistan after Malik Shah's death, establishing a regional center and marking a revolt against Seljuk rule. Abu Hamza seized castles near Arajan, suspending plans against Alamut due to succession battles. Hassan strengthened Alamut with the role of chief Dai. The Ismailis operated within a decentralized Seljuk empire, using military and religious tactics. Despite their small size, their use of assassination and defiance had a significant impact. The Seljuks faced threats from the Fatimids and the Crusaders. Hassan rebelled against the Fatimid administrator after al-Mustansir's death. Al-Afdal appointed his inexperienced son-in-law as imam, causing Nizar's rebellion. Hassan's actions led to the emergence of the Nizari Ismaili faith, based in Alamut in 1094. Nizar rebelled against al-Mustali in Egypt, but was defeated and captured. Some speculate he escaped to Alamut. Hasan ibn Sabah and his successors maintained the Nizari Ismaili movement in Persia, claiming bloodline from Nizar. The Fatimid Caliphate weakened and eventually ended under Saladin. Musta'alin Ismailis split into different lines. Today, Tayyibi Ismailis trace their line to Al-Tayyib. Hassan established his leadership at Alamut after al-Mustansir's death, gaining opportunities during the Seljuk Civil War, leading to territorial acquisitions and military campaigns against the Seljuks, and successful expansion of Nizari influence through strategic alliances and fortifications. Hasan ibn Sabah stalked and fortified Girduk at Seljuk expanse and declared himself a disciple of Hassan. And basically, despite being unable to reach water through a well he dug in 1096, Kiya Buzurgumid took the Lamasar castle. And you gotta see how smart Hasan ibn Sabah was, right? Like, it's the Ismailis today who are thriving in over 25 plus countries, and most of these people are all educated, millionaires, influential. They owe a big debt to Hasan ibn Sabah, right? The reason those guys exist today is because of him. He was basically a Persian nationalist, and he was resisting the Turks and the Arabs and all of these people that were trying to destroy Persia. So around the year 1100, Hassan sent Dais to spread Nizari Ismaili teachings in Syria, establishing it as the primary Ismaili form. Now, if you play the video game Assassin's Creed 1, Masyaf Castle is in Syria. And Al-Muallim, right, the main villain of the first game, he's basically Rashid al-Din Sinan, right, who was the Ismaili leader at that time. So despite the Crusader presence in Syria, the Nizaris found its success with Seljuk rulers. Now, reports of the assassins in Europe were filled with slander and inaccuracy. The Nizaris struggled in Aleppo and Damascus, finding stability in Syria in the 1130s. Rashid al-Din Sinan led the Syrian mission until 1193, forging connections with the Crusaders. The Templars and the Assassins, right? It explores this. Sometimes these people were enemies. Sometimes they worked with each other, depending on their own interest. Now, the Assassins and the Crusaders shared common values of honor and fought against common enemies, despite being on opposite sides at times. Examples of their interactions include alliances, battles, and exchange of gifts. The Assassins used the technique of selective political murder, which was effective in the Muslim world. Contact with Crusaders brought the Assassins into popular European culture, leading to the word assassin being used to describe professional killers in the 14th century. The Mongol invasions from 1220 to 1258 resulted in large numbers of civilian casualties, with exaggerated figures ranging from 12,000 to 1.7 million. Assassinations carried out by the assassins were strategic and targeted powerful political leaders, leading to changes in power dynamics. The Fidais waited for years for the right moment to strike and used surveillance and intelligence gathering to anticipate their targets' moves. The Fidais were seen as mysterious and feared individuals, with both Muslims and Europeans trying to understand the reason behind their self-sacrificing acts. Despite being portrayed as mass murderers, records show that the assassins were responsible for a limited number of targeted assassinations. The assassinations led to retaliatory massacres, but as the practice declined, so did these massacres. The assassins did play a role in changing the balance of power in various dynasties, including the Seljuks and the Fatimids. Various assassinations of important political figures, such as Nizam al-Mulk in 1092 and Al-Afdal in 1121, shaped political landscapes and led to retaliations and actions and attempts to negotiate peace. So, as we go into the 12th and 13th centuries, the assassins, led by Ghazi, Rustam, and Sinan, carried out targeted killings of political and religious figures in the Middle East, including European crusader leaders. Now, this is like the first game, right? With Altair, you go and assassinate like different crusaders and Knights Templars. The assassins were known for their strategic assassinations, often in response to persecution and to prevent harm caused by their enemies. The assassins' actions were not indiscriminate violence like modern terrorism, but rather targeted killings with specific goals in mind. Today's suicide bombers, in contrast, show no regard for innocent lives and are driven by a worship of death, unlike the calculated and purposeful actions of the medieval assassins. And the suicide bombers are haram and have nothing to do with Islam. Now, you have the complexity of judging killing, right? Such as first or second degree murder, manslaughter, or accidental homicide. And you have, the complexity of this, where you have some places in America and in the world where you have abortion, death penalty, physician-assisted suicide, right? So it talks about how we perceive death and the complexity of this in different scenarios. Now, if you delve into the assassins' history, and even if you look at the leader, right, Hasan-I-Sabah, killing even his sons to prove his selflessness. And Hassan also had a strict adherence to Islamic rule, with examples of his actions including destroying his family genealogy and even expelling a musician. And Hassan was very knowledgeable. He was like a mystic master of various subjects, and his reputation among historians and different people. Hassan reassures doubting disciples about Imam Nizar's survival through a miraculous moon illusion. Hassan, a Puritan, was known for his leadership and innovative religious approach, as well as his Persian nationalist sentiment. The Nizari community under his guidance demonstrated loyalty, courage, and respect for intellectuals. I mean, even now, right, you have the Center of Ismaili Studies. They still do that today. Despite accusations of immoral behavior, Hassan's character remains largely positive in historical accounts. Now, the assassins' culture of intellectual pursuit, tolerance, and dedication to their cause is commendable in contrast with prevailing norms. Now, the death of Hassan marked the beginning of the Nizari state apparatus from Alamut, with leaders like Buzurg Umid and Muhammad I carrying out important assassinations and military exploits, leading to the Qiyamah period under Hassan II and Muhammad II, which of course the leadership then transitioned into the Satr period. Now, the downfall of Alamut came in 1256 with the Mongol invasions, culminating in the surrender and destruction of the fortress and the death of Imam Khurshah. And the Mongols also conquered Baghdad in 1258, ending the Abbasids dynasty's rule over Islam. In 1260, Huelgo established the Ikhwan dynasty and left Ketbuka in charge of Assyrian forces. The Mameluke leader Baybars defeated the Mongol army in 1260 with the aid of Syrian Nizaris. After the fall of Alamut, Nizaris faced persecution from the Mongols. but some survived in remote regions. The Imams hid their identities for 2 centuries, leading to fragmentation. The Muhammad Shahi and Qasim Shahi lines emerged, with the latter becoming dominant. The Anjudan revival in the 15th century saw a renaissance in Nizari thought under Qasimi Shah Imams. Despite Safavid persecutions, Nizaris practiced taqiyya and thrived under the influence of Sufi tariqas. During the Imam's revival, tithing helped finance his activities and reestablish central control over Nizari groups. The modern period began with Aga Khan I relocating to India, facing challenges. And now you know why so many Ismailis today are either Pakistanis or Indians. Aga Khan IV, the current Imam, has focused on improving education, healthcare, and community development for Nizari Ismailis around the world. And of course, even with the modern challenges, the Nizari Ismailis have made significant progress under his leadership. So, I mean, look at it today. The Mongols don't exist, but the Nizari Ismailis are still there, educated, well established, thriving in over 25 plus countries. The thesis of Talim, or education, right, is that the Imam is the ultimate source of truth. People need to connect with the Ismaili Imam to understand truth. Failure to do so is considered sinful, and the Imam's authority is you cannot question it, right? Hassan's, he argues for the necessity of a teacher in understanding truth and highlights the authority of the Imam. The importance of unity in understanding truth is emphasized, and the need for skepticism to determine the true Imam is also a part of this discussion. Sufism and the Qiyamah are also linked to Hassan's teachings, connecting gnosis with direct personal experience of the divine within the human body. So even the Ismailis, they give their pledge and bayat, right, bayah, to their Imam at the time, who is currently His Highness Aga Khan IV, right, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through the lineage of Ali and Fatima. Now, Islam's Sufism focuses on divine unity, with Sufi masters attracting disciples through mystic awareness and exercises and knowledge and gnosis. Persecution of Sufis occurred due to dismissing mechanistic orthodoxy. Mansur al-Hallaj, a Sufi mystic, faced persecution for claiming unity with God, right? Al-Haq. Sufism's compatibility with Nizari Ismailism led to integration, since both have a similar concept of giving a bayah, pledge, following a higher truth and gnosis and quest for truth. Now, the Qiyamah symbolizes a gate of perception open for exploration. Hassan II, his proclamation of the Qiyamah declared him as the direct representative of the hidden Imam, lifting the burden of Sharia for the faithful. Hassan II proclaimed the blasphemous Qiyamah, leading to the accusations of libertinism and his eventual murder. His son Muhammad II continued the doctrine, claiming lineage from Nizar and establishing the Alamut Imams. Qiyamah served Nizari ties with other Muslims, declaring spiritual perfection and rendering Sharia practices obsolete. The Nizari community was saved and received into paradise, focusing on inner spiritual truth rather than outward symbols. And that's what Sufism teaches, right? The Zahir and the Batin, the inner and outer. Just like any initiatic schools, you got the inner and outer temples. So, the Great Resurrection, or Qiyamatul Qiyamat, right, was proclaimed by Imam Hassan al-Dikri al-Salam in Alamut, emphasizing the worship of the Imam. The Qaim of the Qiyamah, a key figure in Ismaili doctrine, represents the culmination of teachings and the manifestation of God on earth through the Nizari Imam. The Imam serves as the spiritual center of disciples' lives, leading them to direct knowledge of God and unity with the divine. The Qiyamah opens the path to knowledge and unity for all seekers, transcending religious boundaries and cultural conditioning to reach the divine. The term assassin was derived from Hashashiyya, used as a derogatory term for Nizari Ismailis. And of course, there's a debate on the origins of where the word assassin comes from. And of course, the Fidayins themselves, right? They the reputation that they had. But yeah, even like if you're looking to explore this further, I recommend also reading Henry Corbin's Cyclical Time and Ismailinosis, which I have covered on this channel as well, which is also a great, fantastic book if you're trying to get a deeper understanding of Ismailism. Even the Fida'is, right? The Fida'is, where they had a reputation of being drug-induced. But that is unlikely due to their leader, Hasan-I-Sabah's religious nature, right? The Quran prohibits alcohol and drugs, and Hassan would not endorse such behavior despite what history tells us. The Fida'is' missions required them to adopt cover identities and mimic enemy beliefs, making drug use impractical, right? That wouldn't be practical. It doesn't work. The Fida'is had to adapt to regional customs and recite Sunni prayers to blend in and complete their missions. The idea of drug use and initiation ceremonies may be true, but was unlikely in daily life. Now, keep in mind, like, if all of the history and stuff that they teach you in the schools, like what's shown to you as the cover story, that's not usually it. So despite Islamic prohibition on alcohol and drugs, intoxication symbolized divine union. The Ismailis' secretive initiation process included graded ascent with increasing revelations of inner doctrine, oaths, and ceremonies. Scholars have noted a hierarchy among adherents and the use of numerical correspondences and symbolic speculations. Initiates swore oaths of secrecy, loyalty, and payment of dues to receive wisdom from the imam or die. Later accusations of atheism and libertinism led to the slandering of Ismaili teachings, including a debunked 9-degree model. Now you have Samuel L. Stern, right? Samuel M. Stern, who acknowledged the presence of a progressive initiation system within Ismailism. And if you look at the Book of the Highest Initiation, it counsels the Dai to communicate with potential converts through their language and observe reactions, right? So the 9 degrees of wisdom mentioned in medieval writings were likely based on anti-Ismaili propaganda. The Ismailis had a graded system of instruction with oaths for secrecy, focusing on private teachings of truth. The recruitment process involved raising doubts and questions about Quranic doctrines, and initiates were sworn to secrecy and taught the esoteric meaning of the Quran, criticizing Sunni practices. The teachings then delved into Kabbalistic mysteries and philosophical teachings, culminating in the 9th degree, which emphasized ego surrender and spiritual truth discovery. Exploring numerology, Kabbalah, thaumaturgy, right, other sciences as a way to expand intelligence. Now, you have Richard Burton, right, Sir Richard Burton, who suggests spiritual goals for Gnostic initiates through teachings from Sahib the Sufi and Ivanhoe. The Ismaili assassins' history is filled with myths and magics, right? And all these different stuff that's there, right? Reflecting their pursuit of knowledge. You had Marco Polo, his legend of the Garden of Delights connecting to promises of paradise in the Quran for the faithful, resonating with the ideals of the assassins. In a beautiful valley, a chief created a garden with palaces and damsels to convince his followers that he had the power to grant them entry into paradise, right? From the Islamic perspective, he trained youths to assassinate his enemies, instilling loyalty by showing them a false paradise. When a neighboring prince laid siege to his castle, the chief surrendered, was executed, and his garden destroyed, ending the reign of the old man of the mountain. Dr. Sabir Siagi, an editor of ancient Persian books, has published over 80 works, including a Persian dictionary. In his latest projects, he uses Jamil Tavarik as a source, along with the work of Russian researcher Vladimir Ivanov. Ivanov, who studied Persian local literature and Ismailism history, visited Alamut mountain in Iran in 1958, but could not complete his translation of the section of Hasan-I-Sabah in Jamil Tavarik. Hassan-I-Sabah, right, born in Ray, was initially a follower of Shia Islam but converted to Ismailism after meeting Amira Zarab and Abu Najam Saraj. And of course, he is the center of this talk. He became a key figure in the Ismaili faith, traveling to Egypt and gaining recognition from Caliph al-Mustansir, and of course, his opposition and his struggle from the Imam's relatives and Badr al-Jamali, the country's ruler. And again, the Ismailis exist today because of the sacrifices of Hasan-I-Sabah. There's no doubt about that. Hassan was in a higher position than Badr and his supporters, leading to Badr wanting to kill him. Al-Musta'ali supported sending Hassan to Damietta, but Al-Mustansir did not. And of course, he faced various challenges and traveled to different regions to spread the faith, finally acquiring Alamut. Now, you got to really give credit to the Persian Empire. Like, that is the original real deal and why we have the things that we have today. Look at the cultural advancements, right? If you look at even Mesopotamia, right? The Persians were in Babylon, and you had the different dynasties that contributed to art, architecture, and governance, philosophy. Now, the Persians influenced art, religion, governance, even Zoroastrianism, which I have done a video on this, which emphasized dualism and moral conduct. Think good, know good, do good, Ahura Mazda, Ahriman, and all that stuff. Even the architecture, right? And then you have like Babylonian astronomers that made significant contributions to understanding celestial movements, the Silk Road, and the trade networks. The world owes a big deal to the Persians. Many of today's religions, fraternities, secret societies have a huge, huge influence from the Persians, whether the world wants to give them any credit or not. I myself have Persian ancestry, so I give credit to Hasan-I-Sabah to have his Persian nationalism in terms of preserving his people against the Seljuks and the other enemies that were there. And even look at it today, right? Even what's happening in Gaza, you have Erdogan and the Turks who betrayed the Muslims and the Palestinians. So Hassan knew something about these people that we didn't, right? I mean, they can make all of these dramas and soap operas of Ertugrul and all this stuff of how brave the Turks were and all that nonsense, but that's only in the TV shows. It's not practical in today's world. In today's world, I see the Turks as betrayers of Islam in the Muslim world. I don't give them any credit whatsoever. The real people that should be getting the credit is people like Hasan-I-Sabah and the Ismailis, the Shias. Look at it even today's world, right? All the Sunni countries that have militaries, power, money, influence did nothing to help the Palestinians. It was only the Shias that were there to fight the good fight. So it's all in front of you. So that's how it is. So even if you look at the rise of city-states from Mesopotamia, the Persian Empire, that lays the foundation of what we know as the Middle East in terms of it being the origins of the religions, secret societies, fraternities, groups, orders. And even many people would say or accuse Hasan-I-Sabah of being a part of the Cairo Lodge, and how there's different factions of the Illuminati, and how the Middle Eastern faction of the Illuminati is like the head of the table. Like they show you even in the John Wick movie, right? They give a little respect to the Hashashin. How you have old man in the middle of the desert that still controls everything. And then you have people that say that the bloodlines in Italy, right? The Farnese, the Venetian bloodlines, the different noble bloodlines are connected to the Persians and the assassins as well. And they even give a little tribute to that if you play Assassin's Creed 2, right? You have Ezio Auditore, who's a part of a noble family, Italian family. He's allied with the Medici, who are in a secret war against the Borgia. And all of that stuff, being interconnected, and how it's portrayed in popular culture is shown as well. Now, of course, you have the Ismaili schism and the golden age of Ismailism. The Ismaili schism emerged due to disagreements over the rightful spiritual leadership within the Ismaili community. The division led to the re-establishment and establishment of the Nizari and Musta'ali branches of Ismailism. Now, people don't know like how many factions of 12 or Shias there are. Even the Dawoodi Bohras are a sub-faction of the Ismailis. Now, their golden age marked a period of intellectual, cultural, and scientific flourishing under the leadership of the Imams, and the scholars made a significant contribution to philosophy, astronomy, medicine, and the Ismaili communities during this era were known for their advancements in architecture, art, and literature, and reflecting a rich cultural heritage. Now, it's the importance of education and self-improvement for the development of society. You have to focus on that for innovation, creativity, and how you must be the patrons of the arts and sciences. It was because of these people, many Western groups, occultists, occult groups, secret societies, the Italian Renaissance, the Ismailis, the Shias, had a big hand in all of that, whether the white man wants to give them any credit or not. As we explored before, Hasan-I-Sabah's journey from Isfahan to Alamut and how he emerged as a prominent figure in Islamic history and how he focused on his strategic planning and he stood against the Seljuk Turks to protect the Persian people and fortifying the fortress of Alamut, establishing as a stronghold for the Nizari Ismailis. And that's what he did. He did what he had to do to establish a foothold and a foundation for his people. And I say it again, the millions of Ismaili today thriving in over 25 plus countries who are wealthy, rich, educated, leading good, positive lives owe a debt to this man. We also have to look at Hasan ibn Sabah's leadership and how he established his stronghold at Alamut, showcasing his exceptional leadership skills, utilized his strategic mind to acquire and fortify the castle, ensuring long-term survival for the Nizari Ismailis. Leadership marked by meticulous planning and efficient governance within Alamut, and focused on agricultural efforts to sustain the community and enhance their self-sufficiency. So he's not only teaching you here that you got to have your own place. This even applies to us as individuals. You got to be able to survive in the world, find a way to make a living, have your own place, independence, so you can thrive in this human life without being dependent on anyone. And under Hassan's guidance, Alamut became a symbol of strategic leadership and resilience against external threats. Now, from a business perspective, Hassan was the master himself. From a market analysis, he understood the market that he was dealing with in terms of the geopolitical aspect and threats, identifying his target audience, right? The people around Alamut and how he gained followers, analyzing his competitors, right? Dealing with Malik Shah and the Seljuks, developing his products, right? Prototyping and testing, finalizing it. He had his followers, the Dais, right? The Fedayeen, all of them in between. And his marketing strategy, creating a marketing plan, choosing the marketing channels, executing the campaign, which led to thriving communities in Iran, in Syria, and different parts of the world. And they are still there today. Now, if you look at the interactions and revival of the Nizari Ismailis, their strategic assassinations were known for their targeting political leaders to influence power dynamics. So nothing was done without a specific purpose. Of course, they faced persecution from the Mongols after the fall of Alamut in 1256, but they survived and thrived in remote regions and the hiding of their identity for 2 centuries. And of course, Sufism had a big role in that aspect as well. The emergence of their lines, the Muhammad Shahi and Qasimi Shahi lines, emerged within the Nizari Ismailis, with the latter becoming dominant during the Ajudan revival in the 15th century, and how resilient they were despite Safavid persecution. and they practiced taqiyya and thrived under the influence of Sufi tariqas, showing how they were resilient and adaptable. Now, in the modern world, under His Highness Aga Khan IV, has focused on education, healthcare, and community development for the Nizari Ismailis, leading to significant progress under his leadership. Now, His Highness Aga Khan IV is a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through the lineage of Ali and Fatima, peace be upon them as well. And yeah, look at it today. You know, the Mongols, or even Mongolia, it's like non-existence in the world stage and world politics. But look at the Ismailis, right? Thriving in over 25 plus countries. They're rich, educated, influential, and still focusing on what they do best, on community welfare and education. Even in my home country of Pakistan, right? You have the Aga Khan universities, hospitals, and how Ismailis had a big role, especially with Aga Khan III, who was influential with the British Empire, and how they were influential enough to convince them to create a separate state for the Muslims post-British partition. The founder of Pakistan usually gets the credit, right? Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, but Aga Khan III should get the real credit for what we know as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan today. And so many Ismailis come from Pakistan as well. Most people don't know that the intimate relation that the Knights Templars and the Hashashin, or the Ismaili Islamic assassins, had with one another. I mean, just look at the degree system of the Knights Templar, which was based off of the Ismailis. Look at the Ismaili degrees and systems, or their ranks, right? You have the Grand Master, or the Prince of the Mountain, the Dais al-Kabir, or the three great viceroys under him, the Dais, who were the provincial masters, the Rafiqs, who were the chaplains, the Laziqs, which were the military body, the Fadains, the death-devoted, and the Batini, or the secret brethren, the affiliates. Now look at the ranks of the Templars, the Grand Master, the three Grand Priors, the provincial priors, the chaplains, the knights, the esquires, the serving brethren, the donato and obligati, and the affiliati. So, I mean, it's all pretty much there. Even the Assassin's Creed video games, or the animes, books, movies, it all shows you the same thing on the Knights Templars, and how they were heavily influenced by the Ismaili Shias, and they took that knowledge back to Europe. And even Christian Rosicrucianism with Rosicrucianism was initiated by Sufi masters. So what you know in the West, even I covered this in the Crowley video, how Crowley was heavily influenced by Islam, and how the Sufi degrees and knowledge are in OTO, right? So whether it's Rosicrucianism, OTO, Talima, Freemasonry, it has a heavy foundation of Islam, Sufism, Shiism, the East, even if the white man or the European doesn't want to give the East any credit. It's all self-evident for those that have the eyes to see. Now, most people do not know the Arabization of the Knights Templars, and how the charges against them accused them of being crypto-Muslim with worshipping of Baphomet, who they believed to be Muhammad, right? Mahomet, and their denial of Christ. And they were persecuted on Friday, which is a holy day for Islam. Keep in mind, they also found a cross in a Templar church in Anatolia, Turkey, modern-day Turkey, where on that cross it was a picture of the Prophet Muhammad, and they were accused of worshipping Muhammad in secret. Now, the Knights Templar made treaties with in the Holy Land with Muslims, contrary to French interest, and betraying Frankish armies to Muslims during periods of conflicts. And even at the time where they were at Masjid al-Aqsa, what we know as Solomon's Temple, even Muslims were coming in regularly, praying and doing what they were doing, which shocked many of the pilgrims and crusaders, that why would the Templars allow this? Most ignoramuses don't know that the Knights Templars were the defender of all faiths, not just Christianity, right? Even Richard the Lionheart and Saladin were secret brothers of the same initiatic orders, how even Saladin protected Christian churches and like pilgrims and natives in Jerusalem, how the Prophet Muhammad had a treaty with the monks of St. Catherine's Monastery in Ethiopia and the Orthodox Christians, how in Islam we're supposed to be defender of all faiths as well, defending those that live under our rule. So if you say the Knights Templars were undercover Muslims and the heavy influence of Islam in all of these secret societies today, you damn right. Now, the Robert of St. Albans, an English Knights Templar who converted to Islam and married Saladin's niece. So they were even intermarrying amongst one another. And I encourage you, go to my YouTube channel. You're here. Go to the playlist. And there's a playlist I've titled Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry. And it covers all of this stuff in detail. Watch all of that stuff. Take your time, digest it, take notes, rewatch it. It's over years and years worth of education and material that I have collected. Even in the 1270s, the Templar commander in Sidon, Matthew Savage, also spelt Sir Maj, and the Mamluk ruler of Egypt, Sultan Baybars, were blood brothers. Hugues de Payens, the co-founder of the Knights Templars and the first Grand Master, was a descendant of Moorish Sufis, and his grandfather was a Moorish Sufi who had inducted him into the mysteries. And he was also connected to the Pagani tribe. If you look at the crest of the Pagani tribe in Sicily, you see the three Moors on there. So it's all like interconnected and interrelated with each other. And if you look at Cyprus, how that was connected to the Templars, many Sufi orders were headquartered in Cyprus as well. So it's all there. It's all interconnected for people that got the eyes to see it. So, in fact, the Knights Templar were undercover Muslims, and what we see, the influence of Islam, not only in American society, Thomas Jefferson's Quran, on the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and how all of these things are relative. Even outside of the American Supreme Court, you have the Prophet Muhammad, right? A bust of him holding the Quran. So that's how it is. Thank you for watching. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmanshake911@gmail.com. All images used were retrieved from public domain searches and are the rightful property of their respective owners. The images used in this video are for the purpose of nonprofit awareness and education, which is protected by the copyright laws of fair use education purpose. All my videos are for nonprofit education purposes and protected under free speech and fair use. Thank you. All rights reserved.